Have you ever mistaken silence for strength? They cancel again, interrupt again, push again. You feel the irritation immediately, but speaking up feels socially risky. So you stay polite and absorb it. Now the moment passes, but the pattern stays. They do not read patience there. They read the permission and try again. It usually does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in small moments people barely notice. A friend cancels on you again, an hour before you were supposed to meet. You look at the message. Your jaw tightens. You already know this is not okay, but you type, "No worries." Someone cuts across you mid-sentence like your point can wait. You feel that small shock in your chest. You could correct it. You could finish what you were saying. Instead, you smile a little and let them take the floor. You say no once. They ask again with that light tone that makes the pressure worse. Now it is not just about the request. It is about whether your first answer meant anything. And this is the part people miss. When you stay quiet in a moment that needs a line, the other person learns something. Not about your kindness, about your limits. That is the trap. Because disrespect rarely grows from one big attack. It grows from small corrections you never make. You think you are keeping the peace. They think the door is still open. And this is where the mistake begins, not when they cross the line. Right after. You are standing there looking at the message, or sitting there while they talk over you again, or hearing that same casual tone that makes your answer sound optional. You feel it immediately, that small hit in the chest, that pressure to decide whether this is worth addressing. And most people lose the moment here, not because they are weak, because they want to stay likable. So you tell yourself it is not a big deal. You tell yourself they are probably stressed, busy, distracted, not meaning it like that. You smooth it over before they even have to. That is the mistake, because now the room learns something. Your no cannot be leaned on. Your time can be moved. Your words can be interrupted without consequence, and the disrespect becomes cheaper. What makes this hard is that silence feels mature in the moment. It feels controlled. It feels like you are rising above it. But if the line needed correction, and you protect the comfort instead of the line, you do not rise above the disrespect. You absorb it. And people feel that. They feel when someone is calm. As they also feel when someone is swallowing what should have been named. That silent difference changes how they treat you next time. The Stoic shift starts smaller than people think. Not with a speech, not with anger, just with the decision to stop calling self-erasure peace. And this is why it keeps happening. Not because one person got it wrong, because the pattern keeps getting rewarded. It is never just the one canceled plan. It is the second one that gets the same easy pass. It is never just one interruption. It is the next conversation where they do it faster, because nothing happened the first time. It is never just one push after your no. It is the look they give when they realize your answer can still be negotiated. That is when the problem changes shape. Now it is no longer a moment. It is a system. A friend starts treating your time like the flexible option. A coworker starts speaking over you, like your pause means surrender. A family member keeps making the same joke because your silence protected them more than it protected you. And the worst part is this. You start adapting to it. You prepare yourself before they even do it. You expect the cancellation. You expect the interruption. You expect the push, so you come in softer. You make room early. You explain your no too gently. You act like you are managing personalities. But really you are managing repeated disrespect. That is the exhausting part. You are carrying the weight of a pattern you did not create, but quietly helped continue. One uncorrected moment feels small. Repeated silence becomes training. And once people learn that your boundary has no edge, they stop treating it like a boundary at all. This is where it turns social. Because other people are always reading what gets corrected and what does not. You are in the conversation. Someone cuts across you again. You stop for half a second. You could come back in. You do not. Now nobody says anything, but the room registers it. They see who can be interrupted. They see whose point can be moved aside. They see who keeps adjusting to keep things smooth. That is how position drops without one obvious scene. Or someone jokes at your expense in front of other people, not brutal enough to look openly hostile, just sharp enough to make you smaller if you carry it quietly. Everyone hears it. Then everyone watches you. Not for drama, for instruction. They are reading your response to learn the price of crossing you. And when the price is nothing, the lesson spreads fast. That is the social cost most people miss. It is not only that one person gets too comfortable, it is that your silence starts shaping the whole room. People begin coming to you later, changing plans later, testing your no later, correcting your tone later, speaking over you sooner, not always because they are cruel, sometimes because human beings follow what the moment allows. That is the hard truth. Uncorrected disrespect does not stay private. It becomes an atmosphere. And once it becomes atmosphere, people stop feeling like they are crossing a line. They feel like they are standing where you trained them to stand. And this is where the pressure gets expensive. Because once people learn you do not correct the first small crossing, they stop making them small. Either the late cancellation becomes calling you after the decision was already made. The interruption becomes someone answering for you while you are still there. The push after your no becomes that calm little smile that says they do not believe your answer is final. You feel it instantly. The room gets tighter. Your chest gets hot. Now it is not just irritation. Now there is risk. If you speak now, it feels heavier, more awkward, more public, because the line was easier to hold when it was still small. That is what repeated silence steals from you. Timing. The correction gets delayed. The tension gets bigger. And the cost of finally speaking starts feeling socially dangerous. So most people make the same mistake again. They tell themselves this is not the right moment. Too public, too late, too uncomfortable, too messy. So they absorb one more hit to avoid one hard moment. And that one more hit becomes the new standard. That is the hidden loss. The more you postpone correction, the more disrespect gains confidence. It stops checking whether it can happen. It starts assuming it can. This is the part people do not prepare for. Silence does not keep pressure low. Silence stores it. And stored pressure always returns at a higher price. The Stoic shift here is not becoming louder. It is understood that the earlier line is the kinder line. Kinder to the moment. Kind to your peace. Kinder to the version of you that is tired of being tested. But this is the part that happens after. When the room is gone. When the chat is closed. When nobody is looking anymore. You replay it alone. The late cancellation. The interruption. The push after your no. There's the joke you let pass because correcting it felt too heavy in the moment. And now the pressure changes shape. It is no longer social. It is internal. You start hearing yourself from the outside. Why did I let that happen? Why did I smile there? Why did I make it easier for them when I was the one getting crossed? That is where the damage lands, not only in the moment, in self-trust. Because every time you stay quiet when something in you was asking to be named, a split appears. One part of you feels the line. The other part abandons it. That is a hard feeling to carry. You look calm to them, but inside you feel late to yourself. And that is why repeated disrespect starts draining more than pride. It drains clarity. You become slower with your own truth, less certain with your own no. I'm more practiced at swallowing what should have had a shape. They moved on. You carried the unpaid cost. The Stoic shift begins here, in that private moment where you stop blaming personality, timing, tone, or awkwardness, and admit something cleaner. I knew. I stayed quiet anyway. That truth stings, but it also gives your power back. Because the moment you stop lying about what happened, you stop being helpless inside it. And this is the moment that shows whether anything actually changed. Not in your head. In the next small test, they ask again after you already said no, like your first answer was only the soft version. Or they cut across you and keep going, waiting to see if you disappear the same way again. You feel the old reflex immediately. Keep it smooth. Stay likable. Do not make this awkward. That is the pressure. Now, not to protect your boundary, to protect the mood. And that is how most people reopen the line right after they finally saw it. But this time, you do something smaller and stronger. You do not speed up. You do not explain. You do not pad your answer so everyone else can stay comfortable. You let the silence land. Then you say, "No, I already answered." Or, "I'm still speaking." Or, "If plans change, tell me earlier." Short, flat, done. Your chest still tightens. The room may still go quiet. They still may not like it. But dislike is cheaper than training another repeat. And now the room learns something new. Your answer does not expand under pressure. Your boundary does not soften because the moment got tense. That is what changes position. Not sounding tougher, not winning the exchange. Showing in real time that your calm does not exist to make access easier. It exists to hold the line. And this is where the correction becomes visible, not in theory. In the next real moment, when someone tries the old access again, they cancel late like your time will bend. They interrupt like your sentence can be dropped without cost. They push after your no like your first answer was only the beginning of the negotiation. Only this time, you do not manage their comfort first. You hold the line while it is still small. That is the correction. You do not wait until resentment builds. You do not collect evidence for 3 more weeks. You do not go home and deliver the boundary in your head. You say it there, calmly. That doesn't work for me. Finish what I was saying. If plans change, let me know earlier. Short, clean, final. And then you stop. That last part matters. Because most people finally speak, but then soften it, explain it, rescue the other person from feeling the weight of their own behavior. That pulls the line right back open. The real correction is not only saying it is leaving it intact. No extra smile to erase it, no long speech to justify it, no panic because the room got quiet. Let the quiet do its job. Let them feel that your boundary is not a mood. It is structured. And once people feel that crossing you now creates friction immediately, the pattern starts breaking where it should have been broken the first time. The disrespect did not keep repeating just because people were rude. It kept repeating because your silence kept teaching. That is the part most people do not want to face. Not every line stays open because others are strong. But some lines stay open because you keep leaving them open. You thought staying quiet would keep you respected. But when the moment needed correction, quiet did not look strong. It looked available. That is the reframe. Silence is not always self-control. Sometimes it is how you train the next disrespect to arrive more easily. Real self-respect is not loud. It is early. It does not wait until the pattern grows teeth. It names the line while the line is still small. Because the people who keep crossing you are not always testing your anger. They are testing your edge. And once they feel that your calm has structure, everything changes. Not because you forced respect, because you stopped teaching that you can be crossed for free.